Good morning or good afternoon, whatever you're listening to. This is Dorothy, your host of the Death in Cambodia Life in America podcast, coming back at you guys again with another incredible episode. I promise you, this guest, I say this every time, guys, but I think honestly, I am just so honored to be able to speak with some of the most talented, best Khmer people that I've ever met. And I am so honored to have Ratana Ro. She's also known as Chef Nak, and she is the leading figure in Cambodian cuisine. She is dedicated to preserving and reviving its rich traditions, especially post Khmer Rouge, a time when Cambodian recipes and culture was erased. She honestly, guys, is the tip of the top of her game. She is the author of two acclaimed cookbooks, Nyam and SAOI, which won the 2023 Gourmand World Book Award for the best cookbook in the world. Yes, the best cookbook in the world is a Khmer cookbook. I am I can't believe that she was able to achieve something like this. It's such puts Cambodian food on the map. She's collaborated with high-end hotels, prestigious organizations including the World Bank, UNICEF. Her passion for sharing Cambodian cuisine has been showcased in Travel and Leisure, BBC, and the New York Times, and many more amazing publications. She continues to promote Cambodian culture globally through dining experiences, cooking classes, and the homestay that she has currently in Phnom Penh. Chef Nak, oh my gosh, what an honor to have you. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, Chef,
Yes.
when we think about all the amazing things that you have done to this point, I want to go back to your childhood. Tell me a little bit about at what point in your childhood you decided, I want to be a chef. Was it a childhood memory that you had, something with food? I know that when we read some of the articles and the interviews you've done, you used to sell vegetables with your mom. Is that right? When you were growing up? Tell me about when you started finding your love for food.
Well, long story. For me, cooking is not and it wasn't an option. We cooked because we had to. Grew up in Cambodia after Khmer Rouge. Our parents were in their young adult. As young children like us, we have to be able to survive without adult around us. So of course cooking is one of them. We have to
Mhm.
be able to do it. So because of this reason I started to cook since I was 4 and my older sister was 6. And in one occasion both of our parents were in traffic accident and needed food because they were hospitalized for a few days, right? Don't remember so many things at that age, but for that moment I just remember it, I could pictures and still in a very strong memory with that. So at 4 and my older sister was 6, we managed to cook a very simple what we call baba saw in Cambodia, meaning plain rice porridge or plain
Mhm.
rice congee, because at that time in Cambodia the country was very poor. The same thing with our individual family, my family in particular, we couldn't even afford a cooler. And if we have the cooler, we might not have access to fresh ice every morning anyway. But something that a Cambodian home almost always have is the uncooked rice, right? So yes, of course we have the rice, and of course we have the water and the firewood that would be from the all the branches, that dead branches that drop on the ground, and that's how we gathered all the what we had available at home and cook and send this to our parents. My just home to receive the news that our parents couldn't come home because they were in traffic accident and were hospitalized.
Yeah.
Things like that happens and made us who we are.
Yeah. No, it seems like that was kind of like the first time that you had out of survival had to learn that, and it's very basic food is sustenance, right? And food is a
Yeah.
way of survival. And so that seemed to be the first time that you really had to that you had a relationship somewhat with food. So after that incident, when you think about that moment to the point where you started deciding, okay, I want to become a chef. What were some of the moments that led up to that, or did it happen naturally? What was that journey like?
Well, you know what? The true story is that I always avoid being a chef. I mean, professionally.
Hmm.
You know why? Because
Why?
in Cambodia, Cambodian like girls like me were raised and told that professional chef is only title for men.
Oh,
Yes,
really?
yes, yes.
Mm.
So if you know how to cook, you will be ending up a housewife. Nothing wrong being a housewife, but I know it's not for me. And I always appreciate whoever can do that,
I agree.
right?
I agree, chef. Me too. Me too.
Yeah. So for me, cooking professionally is not something that I could see myself doing.
Hmm.
And for some reason, maybe just the way I raised up to be strong, to be protective to myself because there's no parents around us, whatever. I always a bit super, like a bit stiff amongst the my response to men. I actually never would like. I never wish to work under men supervisions, and it just so many. We might not want to go into that, but I just never thought that food can take me far. Let's put it this way, right?
Hmm.
So I cooked because I enjoyed it. I cooked because I would love to eat the way I want it to taste like. And in Cambodia, when of course, because I had no parents around us or adult around us to really shape us, it gave me a lot of time for exploration, and that's give me a lot of freedom to explore myself, to explore my food. And I also have a little of the thing which I think most of the people have also. Well, I put it again, I used to.
Hmm.
Was
Hmm.
that my way or everything else is wrong.
Hmm.
Right?
No,
And it's just the way
yeah.
we dress up. This is wrong, only our way is right. Anyway, but I think after I had the chance to travel all over Cambodia, and that's I thanks and I'm grateful for being able to do that through the work that I did with Cambodian Living Arts. That required me to travel to different part of Cambodia. I started to see that food is much more than what I just knew, and started to see that Cambodian food is so diverse, so seasonal, so regional, yet, like what I said before, very, very personalized. Food
Hmm.
also explain the history, the traditions, or the story, or the potential of that particular region. And I started to understand that it's not a mistake. It's actually the differences that make us unique, and that's what something that we should celebrate and see and look at as a potential to our country.
Yeah.
So traveling around Cambodia helped me to see that, and I
Yeah.
started to
Yeah.
respect other people when they show differences, and I only started to only interested in differences, something that I already knew. Sorry, but move on to the next one.
Mm. Mm. I love
And because
that.
of
I
that,
love that.
I have learned so much in a very, very short time. And because I started to appreciate the differences. And at that time, I
Hmm.
didn't even know what it means to archive, what it means to write things down, or research. Like nothing. I didn't understand that. But
Yeah.
because I respect and I would love to be able to make it again, something that I really love when I ate on my trip.
Yeah.
I
So,
started to write things down. Started to write things down, like the name of the dish, who cooked it, and what went inside it, and things like that. And that's the reason why I could produce the first cookbook right after I started step on this journey. So go back. So traveling around Cambodia started to give me the idea that what I knew is only a very tiny part of the whole thing. But then
yeah.
um, traveling around the other country in our region, like Thailand, Vietnam, Myanmar, you name it in the region, right? That helped me so much to understand that food is more than just something that fulfills us, but it has the potential of economic growth, the pride of the country, the story, and so many other aspects that I couldn't see before that. And because I started to also love other cuisine, that's also started to give me to look at my own cuisine, and it teach me to appreciate my own cuisine.
How
So
old were
traveling
you?
is so important, right?
Yeah,
So
how
important.
right. How old were
Yeah.
you at that time? Because that kind of describes maybe the first time that you started realizing, wow, like food can be more than just sustenance. Food is not just something that I make at home to feed myself, but it actually can tell a story. And maybe that seems to be what led you in this direction, even though you didn't want to, towards becoming a professional chef. How old were you when you were starting to have those discoveries of like food can be something bigger?
Yeah, so I started traveling around Cambodia in when I was 20. That was
Okay.
2005.
Mm.
And I started being able to travel outside Cambodia when I was around 22, which mean 27, 20.
Hmm.
And then I think the biggest moment was in 2010 when I was traveling to the US for work for the first time.
What were you doing for work in the US?
I at that time I still was working for Khmer Living Arts, and my work has always been supporting the artists to preserve their art forms and many other things. And I had to travel to the US all the time because I had to bridge between the system in Cambodia and the US system, because at that time Khmer Living Arts was a project of another NGO in the US, because we could not stand on ourselves, because most of the fundraising and it's actually from US based. And that's why I was always the one who transcended the two systems, and also being a part of organizing different events and things like that, right? So 2010, travel to the US, and after a few days, you know what I felt like? Of course, my own food.
Where's
And
that
like what you
Cambodian
mentioned
food?
before, right? Like what you mentioned before, where is Cambodian restaurant, right? Yeah. So I decided to go to a neighboring country restaurants, which I was very happy to be able to find it everywhere. It was running by Cambodian, but we had to call it someone else because
Mm-hmm.
no one know Cambodia,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I thought, okay, there's something I didn't know, because I believe that our food is equally good, but we actually not there compared to our neighboring country.
Was it just in the US that you felt like you noticed a lot of restaurants doing that? I think there's a lot of debate currently that I've seen on social media. For example, when you talk about Kativ, right? We talk
Mm,
about Kativ, but a lot of people may describe it as Cambodian pho. So they have to use the pho as the reference, which is a Vietnamese dish, but they call it Cambodian pho. And so, there's a lot more representation of Vietnamese food, of Thai food when you talk about Southeast Asian in the US. Was it really that trip that you really kind of noticed that there was that lack of Cambodian authentic flavor and food and pride? That's the first time that you noticed it.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, so that's for sure. But it's not just one trip that I realized that, but I travel to the US at least once per year, and sometimes maybe 2 or 3 trips. So that's ending up make me realizing that we are not there compared to our neighboring country. But like what you mentioned in terms of we have to compare ourselves or use other countries' cuisine to describe about us. So for me, it's more about which battle do I choose to fight, right? Especially my time and my energy and my money is so limited. I I choose to spend the time describing or giving the world about who informations or educating the whole world about who we are, rather than like, no, this is not this is not this. In a sense, yes, I do. I'm actually I've been hiding it in my agenda as well, but I prefer to do it very gently, but also providing lots of different information that you now seeing this, instead of we have to do, to use this word or that word to describe who we are. But I
Yeah.
also understand why people have to do that, right?
Yeah.
Because we are not there, because we are not visible, and no one understand about us. So is
Mhm.
it wrong for somebody else to use that kinds of words or that phrase or whatever to explain about us? No, I do not think they are wrong, but it's our job to tell them this is who we are, you know,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
yeah, and that's a battle I choose to fight.
So after you take this trip to the US and you were craving your Cambodian food, at this point you were not a professional chef yet.
Nope, I
No.
never been professional chef. I never been trained.
I mean, we'll get to that. To me, you're a professional chef.
Well, then we have to ask ourselves, what does it mean to be
To be
professional?
a professional chef, that's true. I think it's so crazy when you come to the US, you realize, "Oh my gosh, like it's not represented here." After this trip and several trips, you started to feel within yourself that you wanted to change the way and bring up Cambodian food to the next level. What was that journey after you had come back from the US? You went back to Cambodia. What was that process like? Did it just happen organically? Was it natural? You were just like you felt so passionate about it. How did that turn to be?
Well, then it's actually many more things too. Like now I understand that we have a lot more to offer through food. And I started to see the potential of how much food can bring back to our country. And also I would love to fill up the gap of one of the challenge that Cambodian food is not around, it's not being found around the world compared to our neighboring country. But for me, it's also more about, whenever you travel, don't talk about US. Only to Thailand, only to Vietnam, only to Singapore or Malaysia. Even up to today, when people know that we are from Cambodia, one thing that they ask us, is it safe to go?
Mm,
Isn't it sad to be hearing this kind of thing all the time? And is it
yeah.
fair? No, it's not fair to us, to our country.
Mhm.
And I would love to be part of the force of sharing this positive story about Cambodia. We
Mhm.
are not just this genocide, and we are more than just our amazing temples, right? And I know I don't know much, but I know food,
Mhm.
and I don't know enough, but I know that I could always learn this. I would always can do more, study more, and being able to tell the story through my food. And that's the reason why I put everything together. And up to one point, and actually at that times, I was working for a company that, and I was managing a company that produces and provide audio tour, and I was their country manager for the last 5 years before I enter into this. Both every of my job is always helped shape me to be who I am today. I've learned different things. I step up. I take an initiative, and I'm very grateful to have that opportunity. But also, it helped me to realize who I meant to be.
Mm.
I meant to do bigger things, and I want to
Mhm.
do food. So after a lot of time hiding this dream inside me, summer 2017, family took a vacation, and because our two boys always dreaming to go to Disneyland, so we were in the US. And at that time, I felt like I'm ready. I'm ready to open this dream up to my husband. So I said to him that I would love to do something, and that is food. But at the same time, the job that I've been doing give us quite good living allowance. We've been taking, life very modestly, but it's enough for us to enjoy our life and not doing much. Um, and I was hoping that my husband would say, well, maybe it's a good idea, but maybe we should continue working and save up more. So in the next few years, I could do this, right? But my husband said to me, don't worry about it. Do it, and I will make sure that our family runs. So I will take care of the other of the lacking financially that you're going to be missing, and the investment that you need. So he had to work 3 jobs so that I can start doing what I that I that to kick this off. Yeah, and until COVID hit us, my husband lost other 3 jobs, and I also lost all the activities. And that's also gave us the chance to start building this center, which we call Chef Nat Culinary Art Centers. And now my husband runs everything behind, and I'm the face of it.
When you asked your husband, you turned to him and said, "Hey, look, I think it's time for me. I think I want to do something bigger, and I want to do food." Food specifically because you had noticed there was a lack of representation in other countries. Also at this point where you were cooking every night and you knew a lot of recipes at that point, or did you have to really start from scratch?
Yeah, so going back a little bit, yes, I started cooking since I was 4 and
Exactly.
traveling around Cambodia, whatever we love, we took note and then we cooked at home. So, it wasn't a very hard decision. I know inside him there was a very risky, big step for our family financially too, right? But it
Exactly.
wasn't a very hard decision for him to say, yes, please do it at all. You know why? Because he always know and notice how much food means to me.
Mhm.
He knows that food is the only thing that I'm always ready to drop anything and run to do. And we love hosting, we love sharing our story with food, and it's always inside me. So he knows. And that's the only one thing that I did not need any time to convince him at all. Like it just happened. And I often ask myself, if I don't do this, I mean, if I don't do my job, whatever job I used to do, what do I know? Because I never thought that food is a profession.
Yeah,
But that's
right.
also, it's very, very difficult in a sense, Dorothy, because I love food and I love cooking. I love exploring, and I would love to use food and tell positive story of my country. But number one, don't forget that I never been professionally trained. I couldn't, and I also would love to use the food to promote my country. And how do I do that? Or
Mhm.
how do I start with it? It just, and also the money side, and just like thing is so in, it's so complex inside me, right? And I just didn't know how to start, because also in Cambodia we don't yet have the role model that already paved the road for us, to
Mhm.
give us this clue that, okay, you do this, you do this, you do this, and this is how you start, this is how you maintain. There was no one, that can that well, don't get me wrong, there are so many incredible people. They've been spending time, investing in cooking. They can be people who've been working in the kitchen and lead their team for years, or a group of restaurateurs, right? Or I don't know what. But the one who does everything from researching, from preserving, from developing and promote Cambodian cuisine at the same time, and maybe as a woman, that's what we were lacking of. And so, when you don't see your models, you don't have the inspirations, and it's just like a very dark road.
Very scary.
It was very scary.
Very
Very.
scary. Very scary. So, when you decided, okay, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but there is something inside of me that I want to go this direction. Your husband had to work 3 jobs during this time period. What were you doing the moment that you decided you want to go this direction? Was it like, the next step is I'm going to be writing a book? The next step I'm going to do videos? what was your process? And I know you were trying to figure it out along the way, but what were the next steps after you decided you want to do this?
So the first step was that we had to somehow find a way to produce income ASAP. And like what I said, we already, I don't say that we already knew, but we have been cooking and hosting delegations here and there from community living arts and many of our personal family guests and things like that. So the first thing we did is turning our rented weekend homes to be a place where we live but also host guests. So we had to all completely open our private home to have guests all the time. So my children have to hide in their room or my husband have to hide into their rooms and we only ate after they left for sometimes, and that's take away lots of privacy as you can see, but family life and many other things. So well, again, it's not time to talk about all the difficulties, but it's all about moving forward. But yes, so at that time, ASAP income. At the same time, is also how do we use this time to make income, but create a platform where we could allow other people around the world, but also local, to dive in with us to understand the culture of Cambodia through the food,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so we open our home, like I said, to host guests. But for start, how many guests do you expect every day? Not really, right? So at that time, I started to look back. What do I have to do during the time that I don't that we are not hosting? So I started to sit down and I look back into my all the writing, all the notes. So I decided to sit down and do the writing, ingredients, and cook again and again and again and again. Yeah, it looks easy, but writing, I learned that writing is not my strong point. But one time I said to my husband, I said, you know what? I would love to do this book, but writing is not my thing. And I just don't know how to finish this. And if I ever had this book at all. My husband said, well, if you would like to give up, I understand because it's not easy. But do you remember why you started it, baby? And that's the moment I reflected to all the reasons that I started this project. I used to face not being able to answer when people ask us, Chef Nat, what is Cambodian food? I used to get very frustrated not being able to connect with the roots as Cambodians or being able to understand what it's like to cook before Khmer Rouge. And is it really that Cambodian cuisine is only a few dishes that we've been cooking after Khmer Rouge because we were in a survival mode? Is that true? With all of those, I also would like to create the history that we create now, but it will be the story and the history of our Cambodian cuisine in the next 30 or 50 years. Yeah, and I know other country understood the potential of food and they invested in sending their chef all over the world. But I can't, I'm not. And I've been doing things from my own pocket with my husband. I'm sure I won't be able to do that. But I would love to give these flavors and knock on people's door around the world by sending this book to them, make them accessible to everyone in the world. And traveling around the world is not cheap, and I've been doing that. It's so expensive, it's costly, it's time consuming and many other things. So I said book is so important, and we need something that we can hold on to, something that proves who we are. And from that moment on, every single time I would like to give up on things, I remind myself for that moment that I knew nothing, but there's always ways to do things when we believe and have all the reasons. Yeah, so right now it's always about why. Why? So the how will come. I stop getting stuck because of the how. But when I know the strong why, we will be there.
That's so beautiful, and I think that explains exactly why the cookbooks that you have written, even though as hard as it was, and because writing is not your thing, it's not my thing either, why they have become so incredibly successful. You created Yum, which is a
Yeah.
collection of the recipes that you're describing right now. And I think it's very clear from our interview here that you are doing this more than just food. You're doing it for pride for the country, and also, more importantly, the loss of the history that unfortunately Khmers around the world all understand and have had to experience. The difference between Vietnam and Thailand and Cambodia is that unfortunately Cambodia had gone through something called the Khmer Rouge, which specifically targeted creators, specifically targeted educated peoples, chefs. Cooking was not allowed during that time period at all. Books were burned, cookbooks were lost, recipes were lost. And so right now we are at an age where most of us are left here after the Khmer Rouge trying to recreate our history, trying to recreate our culture from scratch, from what we can, and trying to piece together the pieces with after with what we have left. We're trying to just piece something together from the remains.
Correct.
When you created SAOI, am I pronouncing that right? SAOI?
Yes, Sally.
SAOI, that is a cookbook that is an ode to the old royal Cambodian recipes. I believe it was a cookbook from the 60s that unfortunately was lost during the Khmer Rouge. And you had created a cookbook that ended up not only giving an ode and respect to the old Khmer recipes, but won the best cookbook in the world. Talk to me about that whole journey and that experience. Because after Yum, you had compiled the recipes. But I think, and Yum is incredible because you're able to get the recipes in other people's hands. But Sawi is something deeper than that. So talk to me a little bit about that journey.
It's a lot of things. Well, up to this point, there are so many options I can choose to write a cookbook, right? There are so many things. But I always, and our team, we always have to think about so many aspects before we decide on what to choose to do. Again, with our very limited resources, budget, time, and many other things. But I feel like royal cuisine, it's one of the things that me personally, as Cambodian, grew up in a village or in the market. It's a completely two different world. It's not something that we talked about or being or understood what it's like. So when I was maybe I think between 8 or 10, I can't remember exactly, I started to hear the first time in my village when people said the king returned home, meaning our late king, um, um, Rabat Norodom Sihanu. And because of that, it ignited inside me. And I wanted to understand what it's it like to cook and to eat in Royal Palace. But at the same time, I know a girl like me, there's no way for me to be able to reach out to that, right? So it's always been inside my mind. So, choosing to do this book is, of course, to connect the two worlds that don't speak to each other at all, but also to fulfill a girl dream, to be able to understand what it's like, but also to share this knowledge and to earn their respect and honoring the royal family in Cambodia. But going through the process of selecting the recipes for the book, 60 of them, I appreciate and I learned so much through the process of getting all the ingredients to fulfill or complete the dish. I taught myself and the team ingredients, numbers of ingredients that we never cook with in their daily cooking. For example, like Cambodian cardamoms, We know that the Cambodia has a beautiful, big, famous mountain called cardamom, but who knows anything about cardamom? Black ginger, and like so many other things that I've been teaching myself. And this is the recipes that I never actually tasted. Cooking from ingredients that most of them that I never tasted. So you could see the process from not enjoying reading or writing to cooking something, make a recipe from something that you never tasted. Isn't it fun? um,
Was it because these ingredients were only used in the royal palace and not within the villages? Like, how did you do your research? Like, what makes a recipe, I don't want to say common, but what makes a recipe popular within the village and what makes a recipe a royal recipe?
Well, of course, in the village, I am not say that. I'm not saying that it's more of like survival food. No, it's not like that because it can be so rich, so diverse, so deep and complex as well. But it reflects to the time that a family would have, and so we could choose to cook something very quick, easy, and whatever available in the region or in the season that month or that season.
Sure.
Again, there are numbers of dishes that would also show the complexity and that also mostly choose to cook for the ceremonies where we have all the time and the energy and the resource to cook and things like that. On the other hand, for royal cuisine, it's always about every single step matters, and it
Mm.
explains the difference would be sometimes even the same ingredients, but the way they treat the ingredients and the process of cooking that it's completely different, and it's maybe 3 or 4 times longer through the process and everything. And I have to say that it worth it worth.
Wow.
Yeah, so they turn everything from ordinary to something amazing. But and that's the techniques, right? But it's more than that. It's more complex than that. Is that they combined the local best ingredients because yeah, where else in the world, in the country that would have the best ingredients compared to the palace?
Yes. The palace is going to require the best. Yes.
Exactly, exactly. But how they use it in order to be able to accommodate different delegations from different part of the world to make them feel like home because they see something that look familiar to what they ate in their country. How amazing is that? And the kitchen was so open in a sense because they actually invited different chefs from different part of the world to teach them different cuisine so that they can accommodate, like what I said, different delegates from different part of the world. But how they use that foreign techniques and use it to localize it, you know,
Mm.
with the local ingredients, but make it so beautiful, tasty, looks beautiful, look tasty, and but it in a sense that they actually honoring other culture and respect other culture because otherwise why would you spend all this time learning about others, right? And that's for
Mm-hmm.
me, it's the most beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I was very curious why the palace would cook French influence, would cook Chinese influence or Thai influence, this and that. We are in Cambodia, cook Cambodians, right? But
Mm-hmm.
remember, wherever you go, and if you can't enjoy the food because it look completely different or it's too foreign to you, it it doesn't give you a click for the first sight, right? But if
Mm-hmm.
you know how to do this, you cook something maybe in the 10 courses menu they would have one or two or three of something that familiar to that country that visited, and then the rest are Cambodians. How clever was that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And again, it's not just clever, but the way they invested in these kind of things in order to show their respect and honor other culture and other people. To
Mm-hmm.
me, again, it's beautiful. And I think this is something that the legacy that our ancestor and our royal family have already created. And that also shows that food is part of culture. For me right now, it's not about this is yours, this is mine. I am here trying to celebrate what we have, and I respect what you have. We are not necessarily that we are stealing or anything, I don't want to go back to the history and many other things. It's more about, are we celebrating what we have rather than fighting on a few things. I'm
Mhm.
not buying into that. So it's
Yeah.
more about honoring different culture, the differences and the uniqueness of each country.
How did you go about finding these recipes and doing the research? Are these recipes that they made within the royal palace actually? Like how do you know, or are these recipes that you created using the ingredients that they used?
So we have two different, no, three resources that give us the base. When our first cookbook was published and followed by the article on New York Times, that also attracted to reach out to one amazing woman who emailed the New York Times to connect to us. And she explained who she was. And she was a daughter of U.S. ambassador to Cambodia during the 60s.
Wow.
And her mother, as an ambassador spouse, she helped one of the princesses to produce a cookbook to promote her cuisine in French and English to the world. Right, and she actually said to in the email that she still have an original copy, and
Oh,
she now find the right person to give it to, and she shipped it to us. That our first that's one of the biggest gift ever for me. And another one was also another book that been written, and I did not have the original copy, but explained so many diversity recipes. Yes, about explaining about cooking in the palace, but it wasn't like it has there is no measurement, and that's who we are. um, there's no measurement, there's no pictures. So for me, I use two of the books to see what can I select to so that it reflects the whole thing. And then I have to arrange so many meetings to meet people who still remember the texture, the flavors, or how people cook in the royal palace at that time. So that include royal family artists who've been performing in their palace, the musicians, whoever I could think of.
wow. Wow.
I don't dare reaching out to them. If they say yes, let's go forward. And if they say no, we look into other doors. And then we travel to different part of Cambodia to understand about the ingredients, about this, about that. And that's the reason why it took us almost 5 years to produce the book, because it's much more than what I can just do by myself. And then I cook the recipe once, twice, three times until I like it. Because with all these spices, that has very intense flavors, and I never cooked with it. I just so difficult. I just don't know what to use, and I mean how much to use, and da 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 da. So it takes a lot of time. So once I cook any recipes and I could please myself with the flavors and the balance, then I would have to give it to my family, who are super super great at critics.
They're great at being honest.
Yes, I'm sometimes a bit too straightforward, but this is the way it is. So I would take that advice and explain why it should be this way, that way, but then I adjust it once. And then would be a teamwork, and then a committee that would that who's never tasted my cooking before, and that also include the three generations, so that we can see whether this recipe is too hot, too strong, too spicy, too whatever. And that's the way it goes.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So every single recipe in that book probably had hours and hours and hours of interviews, of testing, of matching it to the original copy of the book, of the royal cookbook from the princess. Who compiled these recipes and put it together into a cookbook. And it won the best cookbook in the world in 2023, which honestly, guys, the Gourmand Award for cookbooks is like the Emmy Awards of all cookbooks, okay? This is like as high as you can possibly go. How do you remember when they told you that you won this? And how did that feel for you?
In a sense, it was a big surprise. But on the other hand, it almost feel like everything was arranged to be that way.
Destiny,
You see what I
destiny.
mean?
Yes.
Yes. Because the timing, the artwork, the contents, the drawing, the quality, the feeling, the investment. we already we already knew that we aimed for this, right? And you know what? We would love to create something that every Cambodian would feel proud when they hold it. Our government is proud to use it as their national gift to their delegates,
Mm.
to give us the new image to reflect to our country, and to produce something that show to the world and give them a glimpse of what Cambodian can be producing right now. Yeah, a dark country wouldn't be able to produce something like this, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
put everything in together. Yeah, it explained why we do it, right? This do it this way. And so we shipped the book to France because Gourmand World Cookbook Award basis in, I think, Paris, France. So among 205 countries, counting from PDF version, hard copy, soft copy, you name it. And before we decided to go to join this event in Saudi, in Riyadh, Saudi, we actually were informed that we were nominated for two different categories. One is self-published, right? Because we are the most beautiful self-published book.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Oh, it's
Yes,
beautiful. Everyone needs to go check it out on SAOI, and I'm going to be putting the links in the podcast. But guys, it's gorgeous. The book is beautiful.
thank you. And another thing that we did not expect at all is best of the best for what do we call what the national gastronomy or something like that, right? Meaning that this kind of type of category that the book normally would produce by the government to promote their country through food. Make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. But this is the book that produced by individual. So for me to be able to be nominated in that category is already like enough for me to say that yes, we have made something.
You did it. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
enough, good enough, right? So for these two nominee in the book were enough for us to did the fundraise to go to take a trip to Saudi. And one thing that I did differently was that I would like to show the Cambodians and the world that this is a product of people, not just Chef Nak. It's people. So my dream is always to show faces of people who behind it. Yes, we have 30, 40 people, and I wish everyone can be there. But it would be a two big dreams. So I managed to fundraise to be able to brought three more people who were the lead for that. So we have our designer and illustrator, we have our photographer, and a project manager to be on stage with us on the stage in Riyadh in Saudi. Yeah. So we had so many issue getting there with our plane was broken. We had to come back here and there, and we actually lost one day of the event, but we managed to go. We managed to arrive on the second and the second day. So which means there were so many announcements of the many awards already, but it's only one of the best in the world, right? So there's so many, yeah, one gone past already announced. So when we were there, we were late and we didn't know what to expect. So we just like sat down and the organizer kept announcing, names, and people started to go on the stage, getting their pride, and And we said, oh my God, is it worth our time and investment to come here and also our life, because of the plane issue and everything else?
Right.
Yes, you know what? Yes, we actually won two awards for the book. One was the National Gastronomy, the one that I mentioned about the books that normally would produced by the government. Remember? Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So they announced our name, our books, and I was on the stage unprepared at all. So yes, and that's why I said this is for Cambodia, because I didn't know what to say. It just out of blue, didn't expect anything at all. And at that time, the organizer already whispered to me, said, Chef Nat, please don't go anywhere. And I said, yes, maybe because they would love to wait until the end of the announcement and have a group picture or whatever. So I said, yes. I stayed. But the reason that they wanted to make sure that we still be there, because they have to announce our name again to be on the stage, because we are best of the best. And I just didn't know what to say except that, again, this is for Cambodia.
Cambodia. Oh
And I
my
just didn't know what to
God.
do except that my tears just keep rolling. I'm sorry, Cambodians. I could behave better, but I'm sorry.
It's like nobody told me this. It was last minute. They that was a full surprise, right? That was a full surprise, but they didn't
Completely
tell you that.
1000% surprise.
Wow. Wow.
And that's why we did not have any one of the great picture at all. So
It's just like
all I wanted is that once the organizer said that, okay, we want this and that, I said I would love all my team to be on stage. And one of the team members, actually, remember, he's a photographer and he has a
right.
professional camera, but he
Uh-huh.
couldn't take anything because I invited them all in there on the.
Oh,
But you know what? It's the most beautiful moment. I know pictures would be great to keep us memory, but the moment that I would love to have, which is everyone face on the stage, happens and happened twice
wow.
in one trip.
I can only imagine. I can only imagine what was going through your head. And honestly, like the pride that you brought back to Cambodia after winning something like that, I think is, as you said, there are so many people out there who know nothing about Cambodian cuisine, who know nothing about, that really it's not on the level that it should be. And all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, it took 5 years, but I mean, you created the best cookbook in the world, and it was Cambodian Khmer royal authentic food. And I couldn't
We did
imagine
it.
you guys, you and your team. Do you feel like that was it? You felt like you won. That was what you truly wanted, I would imagine, right? Bringing back the
Yes,
pride.
it is hard. It is hard. And Dorothy, this is one of the things that I have to teach myself and be more disciplined about, is that I have to allow myself to enjoy the moment, because the books, any achievement like the center or any small things that we have achieved, it's always very hard to enjoy. You know why?
Why?
Because every single time people talked about, like, or give us a compliment like, oh Chef Nat, you've been doing great things here and there. All I can think of, or what reminds me, is always about all the hardship that we had to go through. And that is so difficult. It is so difficult, but I have to teach myself that, enjoy every moment, because we don't know what it's going to be like the next day. I don't know whether I could do this tomorrow, so let's enjoy it today. But also, we know that very important that we are aware and count that whatever we have achieved is just the beginning. That is so much more to do.
I don't think that I know that it must have been really, really hard. It must have been so hard, as you said, 5 years. But look at what you have created for our people. And I don't think anything as amazing as that, as winning the best cookbook in the world and representing Cambodia in that way, Cambodian food that way, that's never going to be easy for anybody. That's that's always going to be a hard thing, and I people say that nothing good comes without the hardship and the sacrifice behind it. And I know that sometimes it must feel like it's maybe you want to give up, but you truly, again, as I say, have brought so much pride and so definitely put Cambodian food on the map. Every time I travel to a new city in the United States, because that's where I am, New York, Seattle, Chicago, I always make it a point to go to an up and coming Cambodian restaurant. And there are these young chefs that are doing amazing things for bringing Khmer Brahok to the, American community. And
Right.
there is one restaurant in Seattle that has Cambodian cookbooks when you walk in. It's when you check into the what do they call it? The hostess.
Yes,
There's a
yes, yes.
there's a there is a
A
bookshelf right
stand.
there, a
Yeah, yeah.
Cambodian bookstand with all the Cambodian cookbooks and Cambodian authors, and I feel like I've definitely seen your cookbook there. And so what you're doing is having an impact that is going beyond just what you can see. I know that you're, doing your thing in Phnom Penh and your homestay and you're cooking, and it's hard and it's not easy financially. But all the way out here in the west coast of the United States, some young Cambodian chef has your cookbook in their restaurant. And we are here at a point where Cambodian food, for the first time, I think, is starting to finally break out and be its own thing. You know, it's not just Vietnamese food and Thai food anymore as what is known to be Southeast Asian. There is another country called Cambodia in the middle. And I just want to say that what you're doing is so important. And that's me all the way out here in America. And, what you're doing is not in vain. And we're so lucky to have a representative like you.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's exactly my point, right? I know that this is a dream and it sounds so unrealistic to bring Cambodian food to the globe, right? It's so unrealistic.
I don't think so.
But I believe that the joint force after realizing the real potential of these things, the things that we've been overlooked, the thing that we never believed in have anything to do or to bring back to our country or our pride or, you know, that we all can do this. So, I divided my times, talking to you, talking to so many medias, invested in the younger generations of chefs to hosts, to archive, to develop, to I would love to give the inspiration that this is not just for me, myself, and my family. I do not need to do this to survive.
Hmm.
My life can be a lot simpler than this, but I would love to have Cambodian to earn a belief, the confidence that this is something worth investing.
Right.
Again, I'm Chef Nak, and I cannot send everyone around the world. The only thing that I can tell them that Cambodian food is expensive and we can do this. And I mean it. And I mean it. I've been doing it.
Yes. Chef,
Yes.
for chefs that are claiming Cambodian food, taking it, opening their restaurants out there slowly in all these big major cities, especially in the US, as I mentioned. There's a Cambodian restaurant now in New York. There's in Chicago, two in Chicago, one in Seattle. All of these young up and coming chefs. Something that I have noticed is a struggle, or can be a struggle, when it comes to presenting Cambodian food to a non-Cambodian palate, is that they try to find the balance between authenticity and
Got it.
sometimes Cambodian food, let's be honest, can be very, very fishy, very spicy, very salty, very sweet. That's the reason why I love Cambodian food. That's the Cambodian food I grew up on. But not everybody grew up with that. And when you try to bring flavors like that to a audience that doesn't have that kind of flavor profile, you have to find the balance to make it palpable. What is your take on that? And where is the line between authentic Khmer food and authentic Khmer food and a little authentic Khmer food and twisting it so that people
Or
will
compromise it, or
compromising? There's that word. That's the word. Where's the line?
for me, the line is always about what are you trying to do and what are you trying to communicate, right?
Mm.
A perfect, and well, having said that, Dorothy, it's not only happening on your end, here too, you know?
Yeah.
And that's also come back to, are we proud enough and do we believe enough that this thing can do the job without have to compromise, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So one question that I got from a student at the school that I helped with, she actually already a matured chef and she run her restaurants, and she said to me, Chef Na, my restaurant sells Cambodian food, but every single time my guests come, they always comment that my Khmer food doesn't look like Khmer dishes, like doesn't look like Khmer, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, show me pictures. For me, it's like, yes, the comment is not wrong because she presented it so westernized, right?
Mm-hmm.
And why?
Right.
Because people do things that we have to finish westernize a dish or make it doesn't look like Cambodian to be attractive.
Mm-hmm.
I have not talked about the flavor yet. I'm only talking about the plating,
The
the
look.
presentation,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
So for me, it's always about what are you trying to do? Do not confuse the eaters. They are not that stupid, to be honest with you. Especially the guests that come to my place. They are world-class traveler. These are like we VIP. You know, they come to
Yeah.
Cambodia with private jet here and there. You know, their experience, they are very experienced. So they know this. And they ask very complex and deep questions. So don't. So for
Mm.
me, again, what are you trying to communicate? If you really would love to be authentic Cambodian cuisine, stick to it. Again, I always say why, right? Why I am choosing this dish? Well, because my restaurant is Cambodian authentic cuisine,
Mm.
correct?
Mm-hmm.
But am I saying that contemporary or fusion bad thing? Don't get me wrong. No, I am not saying that. We do need each other. I actually do not think that if I cook anything that I ate when I was young, 40, 41 years ago, and presented the way it was, would attract you or would attract anyone. I am not saying that, right?
Mm.
But again, what are we trying to do? If you then call yourself call yourself fusion or Southeast Asia or whatever, I don't know, be
Mm-hmm.
it. Do not confuse the eater. This audience is so important because they are there every single time I choose anything to cook for my guests. They are paying very expensively to come to my place, and they have to go through waiting lists for sometimes too.
Mm-hmm.
But I always tell myself that I am cooking and my team is cooking to represent my country. And this is also my investment. I only host one group at a time. Doesn't matter they are just a person or 60 people. That's my investment in them because they will be my food advocate too. And
Mm-hmm.
that's my hidden agenda. And I always announce it to my guests when they arrived. And if I do the job, please help share, spread the word. And if don't, let me know. Is there anything I can be better? And I always very, very happy about it. Anyway, so come back. It's always about knowing exactly what you're trying to do and what kind of stories or message are you trying to give this spread. Come back to what if, right? What if we would like to open Cambodian authentic cuisine, but we are not in Cambodia? What about the ingredients? What about this? What about that? You know what? I cook the same dish for my local audience, which is 40% returning guests now, and I cook the same flavors without any compromising for my international guests. You know why I can do that? Because I choose the right dishes. Cambodian cuisine does not need to involve always to have prahok. It's not true because we are so diverse.
Mm.
Yet, it's always about balancing, understanding your ingredients, and let everyone shine and not anyone to overwhelm anyone else. And that's why understanding your ingredients and use them respectively is so important. And that's require lots of time and understanding and the knowledge, yeah, for you to do this. I cook many times in the US. Of course, I'm not running restaurant here and there, but I have this article for a reason. They did not drop on my lap. We had to make it happen. I had to shop three shops, three markets to produce one meal. But one thing that I have believed right now, and you know what? I actually never travel with my ingredients because some of them,
Mm.
especially, it doesn't last. And every single time I travel, I never could afford to leave to stay in a hotel because it's from my money, from my own pocket. I can't afford that. So I always have to stay in a host family that would be able very generously allow me to use their kitchen, their living room for me to host others. And so this stinky and everything else that people believe that has to be in my dishes to be called Cambodians, I do not think so. So I am not on at the same time I am not saying that we should opt out Prahok because we are in the US. No, I'm not saying that. If we choose to cook some log coco,
Mm.
we have to do it the right way. But what I'm trying to say is that what about just ngao chru? Is it Cambodian? Yes. And do we have to again? We have to understand who we are fitting to. And I often ask myself, especially with my international guests who might be only comes to Cambodia once in their life,
Mhm.
once. Do I choose to please them and let them fall in love with this some of the simple and complex make a mixture of easy accept and complex flavor in one thing, but it's a journey, or just throw everything at them at one point and then chase them away? The choice is yours, right? The choice is yours. So for me, the same thing with choosing the performances or dances for audience. Sometimes first time come to a new country, something that is too complex might not help. So choose the right thing. Let them fall in love with this. The more they fall in love with it, be able to fall in love with it, the more they're gonna explore. And this
Mhm.
kind of thing grows on us. Do not try to give too much at once because trust me, you gonna chase them away.
So you wouldn't argue that there is one particular ingredient or even certain particular ingredients that make something Khmer or
I
not
could,
Khmer.
I could. For me, after traveling around the region, I see that the lemongrass paste is so unique to Cambodians. Having
Mm.
said that, don't get me wrong, Thailand, Laos, Vietnam, Myanmar, we share so many same ingredients,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's just the way that we use it, right?
Right.
The combinations of so many spices thinly sliced pounded into a paste, it's so unique to us. The use of so many different kinds of sour flavor, fruit leaf roots or whatever in our cuisine to balance our deep pungent flavor is so unique. Also the use of chili to our cuisine, unless you are neighboring to Thai or Laos, then it's different, but otherwise in the middle, we are not that not so spicy. But the thing is, the more I learn about this, the more I realize that yes, Thailand, Vietnam, Laos, we all have prahok. Yes, we have to accept that we all have prahok. And we all have shrimp paste, even to up to oh my gosh, Philippines, Malaysia. Like, we cook with that. But what make us different and unique is that flavor is traditions. We have prahok, but our prahok not necessarily the same.
Hmm.
We have shrimp paste, but our shrimp paste not necessarily the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, again, know exactly who you are. Learn about ourselves. The more I do that, the more I earn my respect to my cuisine. And it starts from one each ingredient at a time. And I don't mind learning and spending time with that because every step matters. And that's what makes us unique, but also quite similar to a neighboring country. And again, is it a bad thing? No. If we see the history, the influence already been happening like thousands of years before. And why are we still fighting about who's who? Like, it's not important. It's about how
Right.
do we celebrate our uniqueness and our similarity.
Right.
Again, understand our ingredients and also choose the right dishes for your audience, especially when you know who they are. Or even sometimes, even in a menu, we have to communicate clearly if you want to call yourself a authentic Cambodian cuisine, that
Right.
this is a very friendly, authentic, still authentic, but this is more friendly, right? And
Right.
that's always a
Right.
good start. Yeah,
Right.
so can be start from the salads, the barbecue, the I don't know. There's so many things, right? And then to something a bit more complex or adventurous. And this is maybe after you already knew it, the something that is simple once or twice, and then now let's go to this.
Hmm.
The same thing. Food is like education. You have to start from A before you go to Z. It's completely the same. Don't push.
Yeah.
Give the right information and the right
Yeah.
audience.
Well, your detail to orientation, the passion behind what you do, even during the hard times, pushing through, knowing your why, knowing your audience, I think is the exact reason why you have become so successful in such a short amount of time, building Yum, your cookbook, and then also SAOI, the best cookbook of 2023. And then also creating your incredible homestay. I was taking a look at it online and it looks beautiful along the river where people can come together and eat your food and try your food. Next time I'm in Cambodia, I'll definitely have to come. But honestly, Chef, thank you so much for coming on to this podcast and sharing your perspective of why you're doing what you're doing, the journey that you've been on to really get to this point, to achieve as high of an achievement as you've done in such a short period of time. And then also a little bit of perspective of what Cambodian food means and how to look at it as a way to communicate and show respect to people, and that there is not necessarily one correct way to do it, but there's just a need to understand your audience. And all of these things have made who you are today, the chef you are today. And I am so, so, so proud that we have a incredible representative, chef representative, that is taking our food, putting it on the stage and taking it to the next level. So thank you, chef, so much for all that you do.
I'm honored to be able to do this. I'm honored
Thank
to have
you.
a beautiful team. And this is something that I said to my team, and I keep reminding them every single time we have new challenge. We started this not having any one of our team, even me as the one who lead this, being professionally trained, and that's put me off for many, many years. But anyway, my last thing would be my team keep reminded me that, you know what? When we started this almost 10 years ago, we knew nothing. And with this new challenge, it will teach us something. Isn't it incredible to come
Well,
from a woman who used to be home cook? He used to be my cleaner, every single time. Every single time that I said, I don't know whether we can do this or not. Yeah. So,
well, You are such
Everyone
an
has a role.
inspiration.
Everyone has a role. And this is also another thing that I would like to say. Everyone has a role to help this country. And I'm not doing this just to inspire you to work on the food, because not everyone enjoy food, I understand. But in whatever ways you love to do. Three things in life. Do things that you are passionate about. And it does not need to be that you could do that right away. It took me 33 years to find out who I am or what I meant to be with food. So sometimes the journey teaches you something. Make sure you learn something through the thread of life. So passion is very important. Number two, you have to be able to self-sustain financially from doing what you love to do, because otherwise it does not give any good inspiration to anyone. Please don't do that. And number three is that doesn't matter how big or how small, in part of what you do, give back to your country. And that would be my last wish to see.
Well, you've definitely done that for Cambodia, and I can't wait to see what you have coming up next, Chef. All of us are so excited and so proud to watch your journey. And I know a lot of listeners, a lot of future chefs will listen to this episode and
Mhm.
definitely find so many lessons and inspiration from your story. So thank you for coming on here.
Thank you.